This is Hazel. She's a 10-week-old Pitbull puppy, and today we're going to be working on the Leave It cue. So I have two treats, one in each hand. The one in my right hand, I'm letting her sniff it, I'm letting her smell it, I'm letting her lick it, and all of that good stuff, trying to get it, but she's not going to get it. Once she disengages from that hand, then I give her the treat from the other hand. At this age, I'm not too concerned with what that disengagement looks like. It may be jumping backwards, it may be moving to the side, as you can see. I'm not too concerned with that as long as she's taking her focus off of my right hand. We can see here that she's starting to understand that this is a stationary situation, so she's not jumping around as much. This is what we want. Now we're starting to build up that impulse control as she focuses on the treat in that hand. She's gonna lick it, she's gonna smell it, we can see those wheels turning, and again, we saw that disengagement, and then I gave her that treat. I mentioned that at this point, I'm not too concerned with what her disengagement looks like. However, what I really want is that eye contact. So if she does offer that eye contact, like we just saw, I'm going to give her a reward for that. We can see here that she doesn't 100% get it yet, but she's starting to figure it out. The length of time that she's spending trying to get the treat out of my right hand is decreasing. And so now at this point, I'm going to give her a couple of more tries with it on the right side, but then I'm gonna start switching it up a little bit. I'm gonna put it on the other side to let her know that the expectations, regardless of where the treat is, the expectations remain the same. Now this is an exciting moment because what we're gonna see is it really start to click in her head. Now she's going to start smelling it the moment that I say leave it. As you can see, she immediately disengages. That's what we want. Now she's really starting to get it. What's interesting at this point is we see that she's really starting to understand the behavior. I'm telling her to leave it. She's immediately disengaging, no matter which side I'm putting it on. But then we start seeing this displacement behaviors. If you're unfamiliar with that term, a displacement behavior is just a normal behavior that the puppy's exhibiting at an inappropriate time. And it's usually nothing serious. It's something like scratching or yawning. It doesn't mean that they have an itch, and it doesn't mean that they're tired. It's just a way for them to redirect that focus and energy. It usually comes at a time of tension or frustration, and that's what makes it interesting, is because she's starting to understand what I'm asking, and then she starts exhibiting those displacement behaviors, and then we go back into this. Now we're starting to see that her understanding of the behavior is almost perfect, at least in this exercise. So what's interesting about that is that we see her going through this learning process. She starts to figure it out, and then she starts displaying these displacement behaviors, which are often indicative of tension or stress. And then she starts showing us that, yeah, she's got it down. So what we see is something that we often see in humans as well, which is they learn something, and then there's this sort of fear period where they start to second guess or question their abilities, whether they can actually do it right. And then once they get past that hump, then we'll start seeing them performing at their maximum capacity. So that's something to keep in mind when you're training your puppy, or even when you're learning something yourself, which is that learning itself is not a straight line. It goes ups and downs, it has peaks and valleys, and those peaks and valleys are important to the learning process. Because as you saw with Hazel here, it was necessary for her to go down to that valley, that place of tension or frustration, in order to get back to the place where she could really show her skills. So if you're working with your puppy and you notice that, hey, they're learning something, they're getting great at it, and then all of a sudden it's almost as if they don't know how to listen anymore, just keep this in mind, the fact that for some dogs, for some people, it requires us to go down and start questioning ourselves and second guessing ourselves so that we can gain the confidence to move forward at the best of our abilities. Now back to the video, what we saw was me transitioning from doing the hand method to me putting it on the ground. That transition step was simply me holding it in my hand, but holding the palm up so that if she went to go get it, I could close my hand. Now the next step being, as you can see, I put it down on the ground with the same purpose. So if she should happen to go for it, I'm gonna put my hand over it and I'm just gonna wait. Just like in the first step, I'm gonna let her smell, I'm gonna let her try and get in there, but she's not gonna actually get it. Once she disengages, then I give her the next treat, and we'll do it again from there. So again, I'm putting it down on the ground, I'm telling her to leave it, waiting. At this point, I'm waiting for that eye contact. Now we're starting to shape this. If you recall in the beginning, I had discussed I wasn't too concerned with what that disengagement looked like for her. Now that we're starting to build up some impulse control and some understanding of the actual session here, I'm just waiting for that eye contact. Once she gives me the eye contact, now I'm gonna give her the reward. So you can see how we're really starting to build this behavior into something that looks more like when I say leave it, you stop going towards it and then you turn your attention towards me and good stuff is gonna happen. Now we're starting to see that with me setting it on the ground and saying leave it, she's really starting to understand what I'm asking. So in a moment, what you're gonna see is me start dropping it. So now we're gonna start introducing real world type scenarios where something falls onto the ground. As I mentioned, we will start going into transferring this to real objects and to real things that fall on the ground or that are on the ground. But at the moment, we want to start off with treats so that if the dog gets it, it's not really a big deal. It's a freebie. Oftentimes it's to this point that people want to jump forward and start telling their dog to leave it when they have something inappropriate in their mouth. One thing that I always tell people is that we want to teach the dog to walk before we teach them to run. So this is the walking phase. We don't want to just jump straight forward into asking the dog to leave something when they haven't really fully learned the behavior. And the reason for that is because we don't want them to start to learn that they have a choice in the matter. That if I say leave it, they can sometimes leave it, they can sometimes not. Yes, Hazel is starting to get it in this session, but that doesn't mean that she knows it yet. We need to practice this as much as possible, and then once we start applying this to other objects, we need to practice that as much as possible so that we can generalize the idea of what it means when I say leave it. So as I mentioned, we want to keep training sessions short, 3 to 5 minute sessions. We can do those sessions as many times as we want, but we want to keep them short, and at minimum, I want to do it at least 2 or 3 sessions a day. So now we're going to switch back over to the original audio so that the client herself can actually work with the dog. If she has any issues, I can help troubleshoot them. If she has any questions, I can answer them. And hopefully some of the questions that she has might be some questions that you have, and you'll get some answers to that, and you'll find some guidance in that front.
Come here. Sit. Good girl. Leave it.
Then just wait. Perfect. There we go. There we go. You could see she was thinking about that one. She was trying to figure it out.
Leave it.
There you
Girl.
go. So now that she's figured out the game with the right hand, we can switch hands. Yeah, I know when they crumble into little pieces.
Leave it.
Perfect.
Leave it.
There we go. Like I said, I don't care what she's doing right now. Once we start putting it on the floor, that's where I'm going to start waiting for her engagement.
Leave it.
Perfect.
Leave it.
That's okay. Use it with that hand.
No. Sit. Good girl. Leave it.
Oh, there we go. Now we're figuring out the game. So now we can start putting it on the ground.
Okay. Hazel. Come here. Come. Sit. Sit.
There you go.
Leave it. Nope.
It's okay, and then just wait. There you go. Now you can give her that reward.
Good girl.
Perfect.
Leave it. Nope.
So we're trying to let her make a choice. Now you can give it to her.
Good girl.
Perfect.
Oh, there you go. And he's ready. Leave it.
Yes,
Good girl.
that was perfect. Because that's where we saw that shift.
Yeah.
She started looking at you. Now she's starting to get it.
Okay. Leave it. Good
Yes,
girl.
yes.
Leave it. Good girl. Leave it.
Perfect. Now let's try and challenge her and bring it a little bit closer.
Leave it.
Yes,
Good
give her 2 or 3.
girl.
That was good. That was awesome. That was perfect. We want to jackpot that because that was a really good moment. That was a really good moment.
Ready? Leave it. Good
Yes.
girl. Okay. Leave it. Good girl.
And then if you want to give her that last one, just make sure that you pick it up and then hand it to her. So that she knows that she's not able to get it from the ground.
Good girl.
That was great. That was awesome. That was perfect.